The Halal Times, the voice of Ummah. Tensions in the Middle East have reached a breaking point. Israel's long-debated plan to annex the occupied West Bank has triggered a storm of anger across the Arab world. And for the first time in years, two of Israel's most crucial Gulf partners, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, have drawn a red line that Tel Aviv cannot ignore. On Saturday, Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, in a strong and direct statement, declared, "If Israel moves to occupy the West Bank, it will end any possibility of normalization with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia." These words carry enormous weight. For years, quiet diplomacy between Riyadh and Tel Aviv had suggested that normalization was only a matter of time. But with this announcement, MBS has slammed on the brakes and sent shockwaves through Israel's political establishment. The warning was echoed and perhaps even amplified by the United Arab Emirates. President Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan openly warned on social media, "Annexation of the West Bank is a red line. Peace is the only path forward." The UAE made history in 2020 by signing the Abraham Accords, normalizing relations with Israel and opening doors to trade, investment, and technology cooperation. But now, Abu Dhabi is making it crystal clear. If Israel dares to move towards annexation, the Abraham Accords could collapse. Signed in September 2020 under the Trump administration, the Abraham Accords were hailed as a turning point, an unprecedented recognition of Israel by Arab states like the UAE and Bahrain. Later, Morocco and Sudan also joined. But the accords were born with one condition: Israel would freeze its annexation plans for the West Bank. Today, Netanyahu's renewed ambitions are testing that fragile deal. According to reports from Israel's public broadcaster KAN News, the Emirati and Saudi warnings caught Netanyahu's government off guard. In fact, annexation plans were quietly removed from the agenda of a high-level Israeli cabinet meeting, hours before it began. An Israeli official admitted, "The Emirates have expressed concerns before, but this direct public warning was a surprise. It's very unusual." For Tel Aviv, the message was loud and clear: push forward and risk losing not just regional allies, but also its carefully built bridge to the Arab world. Analysts warn that annexation of the West Bank would not only violate international law, inflame Arab public opinion, shatter the Abraham Accords, and end any hope of Saudi-Israeli normalization, a deal Washington has been pushing hard to achieve. Even US officials, once silent, are now being forced to take Gulf concerns more seriously. However, the reality is stark. If just a few strong words from Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were enough to make Netanyahu hesitate and backtrack from its clearly crafted plan, then why did they not use this leverage earlier, when targets rained on Gaza, when thousands of Palestinians were put to death, and when the occupation tightened its grip? Were the UAE and Saudi Arabia asleep until now, when there were everyday crossings of several red lines in Gaza? Were the news of attacking journalists, occupying the Gaza Strip, invading hospitals, targeting small children in their skulls, and the daily deadly raids on occupied territories of the West Bank, which included thousands of homes getting demolished? Were all these actions on Palestinians totally acceptable for them? Critics argue that this sudden roar from Saudi Arabia and the UAE may be too little, too late. Symbolic pressure may stall annexation today, but it cannot erase decades of silence and complicity that allowed Israel's aggression to grow unchecked. Moreover, this unusual roar by both the Arab nations has only come when their own deal with Israel, which is the Abraham Accords, which clearly mentions that this is the last red line for their deal to become void, got under fire. Which means that this outrage is not at all for the Palestinians, but only for their own selves, as this might challenge the legitimacy of their own deal with Israel. The bitter truth is that if the UAE and Saudi Arabia would have been concerned about the lives of Palestinians, they wouldn't be waiting for this last so-called red line of their deal to be challenged. For now, Israel has been forced to back off. They will not annex the West Bank as for now, which, by the way, is under occupation in majority of its area. But the question remains, will Arab leaders finally use their power to hold Israel accountable? Or will their warnings remain empty threats while Palestinians continue to pay the price? The world is watching. The streets of the Arab world are restless. And Israel, once confident of Gulf silence, now finds itself staring at a red line it cannot afford to cross. That's all for today. If you found the video informative, please like it and subscribe to the channel. Jazakum Allahu khairan.